Wow, I'm so excited to be here. How are you guys doing? Yeah. All right, it's the last session today, and I'm having so much fun in DevFest Ukraine. Thank you so much for having me here. It's one of the best conferences that I've been to, really great people, and what's so amazing is that it's all made by the community and volunteers who work on this conference for years now, and they do it on their free time, just as a hobby, all from the community. So give a big hand to DevFest Ukraine team. Yeah, it's really awesome, really. Thank you so much for having me here. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to progressify our web applications, to make progressive web applications with Angular, with the tools that Angular provide us. And before we start, just a little bit more about myself. So you already saw this picture right now. I'm a front-end consultant and trainer and developer, of course. I focus on Angular. And in my free time, I'm doing NG Girls. And this is an organization also where we volunteer and we try to help increasing diversity in tech. We mainly focus right now on women who are beginners in the programming world. We're doing workshops for them, free workshops. They follow a tutorial. They sit in groups with mentors. And we actually have this kind of event organized together with DevFest Ukraine and with Angular Lviv this Sunday. So thank you so much for helping me organize this event. It's going to be awesome. We have already, I think, around 40 participants and 15 mentors, so that's amazing. And if any of you want to help in that, organize an event like that wherever you are, or help us remotely, please come talk to me. There's a lot of work to do. And we want to have lots of events all around the world. We're having already lots of events in the next couple of months in Europe, in Poland, Germany, in London. We have one in Colombia. We're planning one in Nigeria. And I probably forgot a lot more. So really come talk to me. We really need a lot of help and mentors and ideas also, ideas for more events. Another thing that I do in my free time is I organize Angular Nights Meetup. It's also teaching Angular and the ecosystem, focused on hands-on workshops and learning by doing. All right, so enough about myself. Let's talk about progressive web applications. So what does it mean, progressive web applications? Who here has already started working with progressive web applications? Okay, a few of you. Great, so I'll go over it just quickly. So I'll start with web applications. Web applications became really powerful and complex since we have very strong computers that can run these strong applications on the browser. The browsers became stronger and more performant. We have now very fast Wi-Fi connection, internet connection almost everywhere, and we leverage that. So we can send lots of data all the time. And what we also like about web applications is that we can send a link to a specific place in the application and share it with someone, and then they will enter the same page that we wanted to share, the same place. So even if we're talking about single-page applications, they have their own routers that allow us to do this. So you can send a specific page, a specific view, and share it. So lots of things that we love about web applications, but then we also have, on the other hand, mobile applications. And we really love these little devices that go with us everywhere. You can start sticking things on it. And they gave us some different ideas. They have some different approach. The applications are installable, so you can, with one click on the icon, just open the application, and you don't have to search for it or put a link every time you want to enter it. It is very engageable. It engages the users by sending you notifications. So even when the application is closed, or your phone is in standby mode, then you get notifications that tell you, hey, there's something new going on. Hey, remember this app? We have something to tell you, something to show you. And the applications can use the API of the device, the camera, the GPS, what else? Access to the phone to call your friends and so on. So lots of great things that we can do with native mobile apps. So, but there's also some things that we started not liking so much in mobile apps. For example, we need to search them in the store in order to install them. So you can't just enter a link in the browser and, hey, you have the application. You have to go and install it and click on it, and then you need to, it asks you for permissions. So before it asks you for permissions, you can't share a link to the, well, you can share a link to the application in the store, but you can't share a link to a specific place within the application, especially if you don't have it installed already. And when you install it, you need to give it all the permissions that it needs. So can it access the camera? Can it access your contacts? Can it access your SMS? Everything up front, and it's really annoying. A lot of times I look at the permission list and I say, why does it need so many permissions? Why does it need my contact list? I don't want to install this application. It's too much. And whenever you have an update, you also have to agree that you want to update this application, especially if there are more permissions needed there. So a lot of downsides. Now I know that they work on it, that there are also improvements in native mobile apps in this area. But let's talk about taking the mobile apps and the web apps and having the best of the two worlds. So that's where progressive web applications come in. So what do we have in progressive web applications? So this is a list of features that you have to consider if you want your application to be progressive. And you can sum it up with the three things here: reliable, fast, and engaging. So a progressive web application feels like a native mobile application, but it uses all the good things that we have on web. It's linkable. You know that we can now write web applications that will be presented well on the mobile phone. So we want it to be fast, to get data, small amounts of data, because we don't want to overuse the internet connection, and we don't want to overuse the battery. And it has to be reliable. It has to show us updated state of the data that we have. But whenever we have low internet connection or we're offline, we also want it to work. We want the application to show something, to have some features that you can do offline. And engaging, so like I said with the notifications, so we can also have notifications with web applications. Okay, you probably have seen this already. Also on your desktops, on your computers, lots of websites now ask you for permission to give you notifications, even when the browser is closed. And so if you're using Slack or email or WhatsApp, lots of applications do that. Sometimes you don't even know why they want to show you any notifications. It's like you don't even know what this web application is doing, and you already need to give it permission for sending you notifications. So think about it. If you want to use this feature, let the users get to know the application first, and then when it's relevant, ask them whether they would like to get notifications or not. A few more important features of progressive web applications is that it's safe. It uses HTTPS connection with the server to make it safe and reliable. Like I said, it's responsive, it's linkable because it's still a web application, and it's discoverable. You can search for it in Google search or other searches on the web. And now also the stores, the Google Store and Windows Store also discover these applications that are progressive and add them to the store. So you can also find them in the regular application store that you're using. Okay, so there's a lot of love to talk about concerning progressive web applications. Now you're probably wondering, hey, can my computer or the browser can already do all the things that the mobile application can do? Then it can do a lot of things. There's this website, whatwebcando.today, and it gives you the list of features that are native mobile features that are being implemented in web browsers. So you see that most of the features are already there. For example, geolocation. You know that the browser can access your location. And the camera, of course. And it can sync the application in the background. That's also something very important. You don't have to open or refresh the application to get the latest update. So there's a lot to implement more. For example, NFC. We still don't have NFC in all the browsers, of course, because it's something that we need to have in the computer, and browsers may not have access to NFC yet. But that's really just small things that we might not need right now. Now, if you want to learn more about how to make great progressive web applications and all the concepts of it, I really recommend this talk by Christian Hellman. He gave this talk in JS Poland in June. I was there in the audience, and it was really, really great. He goes over all these features that you need to think about, and also how not to overdo it. And he gives tips such as if you're writing one application that will run both on web and on mobile, but you have to consider some features that are better for web, for a big browser, for a big screen, and that might not look good and might not be so usable in a small screen of the mobile. So just skip those features. Like if you have big graphs that you want to display, maybe it's best not to show them on the mobile version of your application. So that's just one tip that he gives, and I really recommend this talk. Okay. How do we test our application if it's progressive enough or not? There are several tools, of course, but one of the major ones is Lighthouse. And with Lighthouse, you can measure different features, such as performance and security, I think. We'll use Lighthouse in a moment, so you'll see how it works. And right now, it comes inside the Chrome DevTools. It's part of Chrome DevTools. But you can also install it as a Chrome extension if you still want to. And if you don't use Chrome, you can install it via NPM and just run it through the terminal. Okay. Now, I've built a little demo application to show you how you can easily progressify your application with Angular and the Angular tools. So you can go to this link right now and test it. I've deployed a simple, not progressive version of it. It's deployed on Firebase. And we'll see how we improve it. We'll see it live, how we improve it to be progressive, and we'll measure it with Lighthouse with each step. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the tools that I've been using. Of course, Angular and the Angular ecosystem, Angular CLI, which gives us really helpful. It is a helpful tool to build Angular applications. You install it and run a simple command on the command line, and it creates a full web application with Angular that with just another command, it runs, it serves the application to the browser. And then to create components, services, directives, whatnot, you just run a simple command giving the name of the component, for example, and it creates all the needed files with all the boilerplate. It creates the whole application already ready for testing. Of course, you need to write your own test inside, but it gives you, again, the boilerplate and all the tools needed for testing. And with a simple command, you build the application. And so it gives you a lot of things that you can stop thinking about managing your application and writing all this boilerplate and creating files, and just focus on writing a great Angular application with your great features and great ideas. I'm using Angular Material, which gives us ready components to use, and they're also they fit the mobile view also. We're using Flex Layout, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about in a moment. And we're going to install Angular Service Worker, which the CLI can recognize and add it to the build process and help us creating our service worker, which I'm going to show you also in a moment. On the server side or serverless side, I'm using Firebase. I'm using it for hosting the application. I'm using it for authentication, for the database, storage, and I'm using Cloud Functions which is a relatively new feature, to manage the data in the server. It actually gives more options that it gives the option to write functions that belong to the server instead of doing them on the client side. So this is a really, really strong feature that I've waited a long time for it to come. Okay, so on I'm going to talk about Flex Layout in a moment, but I want to show you the application and show you the initial state of the Lighthouse results. So let's exit this view, the presentation. Okay, so this is the application. It's basically a songbook, and you can see the songs. You can insert new songs in it, but you have to sign in to do that. Okay. Now, right now, the email and password doesn't work. Okay, you can only sign in with Google. So you can actually do this, and I'll sign in with my one of my many profiles. And then you have the option to add a song. Let's add a song together. What song should we add? Give me a name of the song. Oh, I can't hear. I could hear we're already gone. Already done? Ah, oh, okay. Oh, you already, oh, but I see, no, I see that I forgot to delete some of my tests here, but, oh, wow. That's mine. Wait a minute. Where is it? No, that's, oh no. Okay, so, I'm not gonna scroll. Hey, did the mic go off or something? Can you still hear me? Yeah? Okay, I suddenly don't hear my echo, so it's weird. Okay, can you all hear me in the back? No, okay, so something went wrong with the mic. Who's here to help me? Someone? This seems to be working. Okay. In the meantime, I'll just look at the screen, okay? I'm going to the DevTools. I have here audits, and audits give me Lighthouse, and let's perform an audit, all right? Run audit. Magic. Okay, it really tests it as if we were working on a mobile with low internet connection, and so on. In the meantime, hello, what? Can you hear me in the back now? No? Okay, so let's go back to this in the meantime. Someone help? Hey, someone's fixing that? Okay. Maybe we're having turns with the other room. Sometimes she has the microphone, sometimes I. One? No? Give me 1 minute. Okay. Okay. Can take a look at the. I have this 45. Not so great. Performance, well, we can work on it. Accessibility and best practices, yeah. Another thing. You see, you can see how long it takes to have a first meaningful paint. So the user can't see anything for 4 seconds, and then the user gets something, the header, and only then the user gets data. Okay? Now, take a look at that. Woo! Isn't that nice? But if I go to mobile view and I'll refresh it, okay, so it starts closed and it behaves differently. You see it's grayed out here. There's a backdrop. Okay, it wasn't like that in the web version. Okay, so you can choose a song and go back to the song. So let's show you again the web version. It comes open by default. Okay, and it comes without the backdrop. What else can I show you without too much talking? I was supposed to be signed in. Oops. Here I am. And then you can also log out. Ooh. Okay. One. No, you can't. You still can't hear me. What will we do? One. Okay, I'll try to talk really loud. If I talk loud, can you hear me in the back in the meantime? Yeah? Okay. So this feature that it knows whether I'm on mobile, now it doesn't work. Why not? What happens here? Come on. Okay. This feature that it has a different behavior. These are all material components, Angular material components. So I need to somehow configure it. Yeah? Oh, all right. Cool. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to take a few minutes more from your, I think, from the talk to be able to show you everything. So you'll have to wait a little bit more until the after party. Sorry, guys. Okay, so this feature that I showed you, that it knows whether I'm on large screen or on mobile, and then it will open the side nav by default on a large screen or hide it by default in a mobile view. Then this comes with the flex layout that I showed you just a minute before in the slides, and I want to show you how it works. It's a really strong feature. Oh wow! Now I also have lots of lights. It's a really great feature that I was looking for a way to do this, because a lot of things that we want that we make in our application to be responsive. We do this in CSS, but when it comes to the side nav, then it's something in JavaScript, and in the JavaScript part or TypeScript in the component controller, we need to know what type of screen we're using. So I'll show you how to do that, but I also want to start making our application a bit better. Boosting its performance by using one of Angular CLI's experimental tools, which is called a Build Optimizer. I want to enter the presentation mode so you can all see. All right. Terminal. Okay. Okay, now it's easier for you to see, I hope. No, how do you clear? Clear? Yeah, okay. So the regular way to build the application is ng build, and you pass the flag prod, right? Prod, production, yeah. Oops, sorry now. Okay. Now, so that is the way I built the application and deployed it to Firebase. So now I'm also going to use the experimental tool called Build Optimizer, which gives you more optimization for the result, for the build result. Okay, so I'm running this, and in the meantime, I will show you how I'm using Flex Layout here that comes with the Angular packages. So Flex Layout gives you lots of directives to use Flex Layout in the template. But in this case, I'm using its observable media, which I inject here in the constructor. I call it media. And then on init, I'm querying it whether the screen is extra small or large or so on. And then I can give different features here in the controller. So if it's extra small, if it's on mobile, then we start with the list open false, and the side nav mode will be push. This is a flag that I pass to the material side nav. And if it's not extra small, if it's bigger, then the list starts in an open position, and the side nav mode is side. And this is where, here it is. Here is the side nav. And so this is where I pass these parameters. OK, so the build finished, and I will deploy it now to Firebase. Deploy. Now I'll do only hosting, because the functions and the database rules didn't change. OK, I didn't touch them. We can see the project structure and what we get here from the build process. Okay, so this is what we get from the build: index, material icons, and polyfills, and styles, and so on. Okay, so we can see there's nothing too progressive about this at the moment. So I'll just go back here and do some hard reload, and try to audit it again. Okay? So let's go to over the rainbow. We need to close it and open it again. And let's see if anything changed in the performance. OK, so I'll let it run. And in the meantime, we'll see our next step. So where were we? OK, so this is what I did with the build optimizer, and this is the results that I got before when I did that. So it boosted my performance to 75, so it was really cool. OK, and the next step that I'm going to do is add an app shell. So remember that we didn't have, we just had a white screen in the audit for 4 seconds until the user could see something in the application. So we want to fix that. So there are several tools that can help us with that. There's Angular Universal, for example. But I'm just going to add, I just built a very simple shell using HTML and CSS, and just put it in index.html. So let's find it here in Scratch, and I'll copy paste it from here. Okay, so I have the style that I'm using for the header and the spinner. Okay, so I'm copying the style, and I'll put it here in our index app index.html. Where is it? Here you go. Okay. Okay. And And instead of just using the root component, SB is my prefix, instead of just using it without anything, I'm putting here the header and the spinner. So as long as Angular hasn't started up, while we're waiting, it will render what's inside here. And if it's not something that Angular needs to kick in here, then it can just render it on the screen. So I'm going to add this here. I'm gonna have, okay, yeah. All right. So so let's build it again and deploy it again. And let's see our results in the audit. Okay, the performance got boosted just a little bit using the build optimizer, so that's really cool. But here's what I was talking about, the first meaningful paint that happened only after 4 seconds. So all this time, Angular starts up, like we're getting the JavaScript file, and Angular is bootstrapping, and only then we get something meaningful on the screen. Okay, let's see how this is going. 92%. Come on, come on. Okay, let's deploy. And in a moment, we can run the audit again. Okay. Until then, oh, it already finished? Come on. Yeah. So let's reload. Okay, so you can already see there was a spinner. So that's something that comes with this app shell that I added. Okay, so I'm running the audit again and going on with the presentation. Okay, next, so this is the app shell, and this it will be the result that we're going to see soon. Okay, and yeah. Okay, next up. We can add an app manifest. This is also not really related to Angular. To every web application, you can have a manifest that would tell the browser how to add some mobile-like features, and even give the browser some color that you choose, and give the icon that you can install it with. So we just need to add a JSON file, which is our manifest, our app manifest, and to load it in the index.html. So I already created this manifest. I put it under source. Okay, you see this is too many things. Okay, it's under the source folder. And you can learn about all these features. There are lots of tutorials and so on for what you put here in the manifest. So, for example, the name and the icon, and of course we have to also add these different icons in the assets, and the colors, the theme color and background color that we're going to use. Okay, so we're going to add it to the index.html. Okay, so I also prepared the snippet here. Okay, so we're adding it over here. So this will load the manifest and also give it an initial theme color. I really have to get going with it really, really fast. Okay, let's try to build and deploy again. Let's see the results. Okay. First, here. After 1 second, we have a header and a spinner. Yay, okay. I'm going back and forth, and I don't have a lot of time, so sorry about that. I might steal a few minutes from you. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Okay, so once I upload the manifest and call it from the index.html and deploy it, then you'll be able to install the application from your browser Yeah? Yeah? Where am I? Okay, you'll have a prettier look of the application on your mobile, and it will ask you whether you want to install it, and then you can have this with the icon. This is not an updated icon. The icon will be purple, like I like. So you'll have a purple icon of a songbook there. Okay? Okay, and then there will be a bit of a boost in the progressiveness of the application. Okay, so I'm not going to test it again and again. I'm going to skip to the next step, and then we'll test it in the final stage. Okay, the next step is the service worker. A service worker is a JavaScript file that the browser, you can have one of those for your applications, and the browser knows to install it when you enter the application. And it works in the background. These are things that work in the background of the browser. And not only in the background of the browser, also when the browser is closed. So what is it good for? It's good for caching assets. So when you're working offline, it will show you, it will get these assets, all the files from the cache. And it's good for notifications. So when the browser is closed and the service worker still works, and it gets a push notification from the server, and then it can display it on your screen. So whether it's mobile or on the computer. Okay? So this is where Angular really gives us a really great tool. The service worker package. So you have to install it. Oh, I'm doing like that, and it's not there already. Okay, you have to install the service worker package, and then you have to tell the Angular CLI. Oh, actually, I forgot to do something with the CLI before. Okay, remember we have to add the manifest that we're using, manifest.json, here in the CLI. Okay. To have it also in the build, because right now it didn't add it here, and it will tell us that it can't find the file. Okay, so now it will add the app manifest, and we have to tell the app that we're using service worker true. Okay. And I've already installed the package, so it will generate a service worker for us. And it also has a configuration file, a JSON file for the service worker, which looks at our application. It knows it's Angular because it comes from the Angular tools. It can look at the application, and it can recognize what kind of assets, what kind of files it can cache. But then we need to tell it a few other things. So we also have an Angular service worker manifest that we write by ourselves. And I gave a link there to instructions of how to write them, what you can put there. So first of all, you need to tell it that it's a single page application, and all the routes go to index.html, actually. Okay, so whether I go to the home route or to songbook, which is matched by prefix because I have then the ID of the song that I want to display, or the sign-in route, which is matched exactly because there's nothing after it, it's just sign in. So all of these will go to index.html. Then we can also cache dynamic assets. Okay? So the service worker by default knows how to cache static assets that we have in the application, index.html and so on. But now we also have, we can add dynamic assets and list them by groups. So for example, all the data that we get from Firebase, okay? So I want to cache all the songs, because the purpose of the application is actually to be able to have the lyrics when we're offline, when we're, for example, going on a trip and having a campfire with guitars and there's nothing around us, only trees and forests and animals, and we want to sing some songs, and of course, we don't have internet connection. So I want to cache the songs that I have in the database. So we can tell it how to cache, whether we cache for performance or for freshness, and for how much time will elapse until it goes stale. I will build it in the meantime. Okay. What strategy to use? For example, here, least recent used will be the first one to be deleted, because I'm only allowing 40 maximum entries, and so on. Okay. There's also an option to add assets from outer sources, from outside sources, for example, icons and fonts that you're using. Okay. Let's just wait a moment. I want to see what we get here in the result. Come on, 92%, come on. Come on, come on, come on. What do you say? Will we get to 100%, a score of 100% in the progressiveness in Lighthouse? Really hope so. Let's deploy to Firebase, and I'll show you the result. Okay, so we have, so this is the manifest that we added, the app manifest, the regular one. And this is the service worker manifest that it just copied my configuration, and it adds its own, like I said, static assets that it recognizes by itself, that the Angular CLI can recognize by itself, and the service worker package. Okay, so also another thing that I want you to notice, like before I reload it, is that if I go offline, I can see it in my screen here. If I turn the Wi-Fi off and I try to reload it, then maybe some things are, you see, you have the offline dyno, right? You don't have anything here. So this is what I want to avoid. I want to have the application available when it's offline, and I want to have some of the songs, at least the ones that I'm interested in, the ones that I was looking at, available for me offline also. So let's run another audit. Okay, and let's see how well we have progressified our application. I'll go back to the presentation in the meantime to finish it up. So when I tried it before, this was the initial state, and this was the result that I got. So something happened with the performance, but besides that, I have a score of 100 on the progressive web app, 100 on best practices, and accessibility is also pretty good. And we covered well, a lot of features of the progressive web app, but still there's a lot more to think about. If we're talking again about the re-engageable, so just a little tip. This is a screenshot from my old phone. It's just after a whole day that I couldn't open and look at the notifications, and I had about 40 notifications from Twitter, and it happens a lot. And come on, Twitter, stop with it. I can't manage 40 notifications every day. Come on. So think about useful notifications. Brit, I think, was talking about this this morning or this noon. So watch her talk or her tips about this. A little bit more about Angular and with progressive web applications. In version 5, which is now in release candidate, we will have the service worker tools baked into Angular and not in the CLI, so you can use it directly from Angular. And the configuration is similar, but maybe a little bit different, so take a look at this documentation. You can use another great tool called Workbox 2 for the service worker and to help you progressify your web application, whether it's in Angular or anything else. Okay, an important note about Firebase database. You saw that I cached the data, but to do this, it can't work with a real-time database. The real-time database uses WebSockets, and they don't go through the service workers. So what I did is I called the data with JSON, like with a regular RESTful API. So, in order to use real-time database, you should leverage IndexedDB or try using the new feature which is now in beta in Firebase, which is called Google Cloud Firestore. It's a new database, and it also has a feature of real-time database and offline capabilities. So really check it out. It's really something very, very fresh that you can start using right now. In general, this guy, Maxim Salnikov, is my main resource to know what's going on with progressive web applications as a whole, and specifically with Angular and its tooling. So follow this guy, and he also manages this Slack channel. So join the Slack channel if you want to know more about progressive web applications. Let's see how our application is working. Wow, 100 progressive web app. That's really cool. Okay, well, the meaningful paint, it still says that it takes 5 seconds to have a meaningful paint, but at least you have the spinner until then. And if I go, I'm going to the first three songs, okay? And if I go offline, okay, then I'll try to go to a different song, and it won't load. But I'll try to go to one of those that I was there before, and it will load. And even if I hope it works, even if I reload this whole application, okay? And so again, Bye-Bye Blackbird doesn't work, but Virtual Insanity, we got it because it's cached. Okay, so you can now, it is deployed, you can refresh it on your mobile and use it. And one last thing. Thank you.